Good morning, respected teachers. Myself, Agamjot Singh of class 9th H, and I am here to show you some activities on Newton's law of motion. Sir Isaac Newton was one of the greatest scientists who described three laws of motion, which are known as Newton's law of motion, which are named as Newton's first law of motion, which is also known as law of inertia, and second law of motion, and third law of motion. So, without wasting time, let's get to the activities. Thank you. Now let's study about Newton's first law of motion. You must be wondering that what is Newton's first law of motion? I shall tell you. A Newton's first law of motion describes that an object remain at rest or remain at motion unless or until an external force acts on it. Let's study about this motion in detail through a activity. To perform the activity of Newton's first law of motion, we will be requiring a glass tumbler, a flip cart, and a 5 rupees coin. Now take the glass tumbler and put the flip cart on it, and take the 5 rupees coin and put it on the flip cart. As you can see, all the objects are in the rest position. Now we will flick the card and the 5 rupees coin get into the glass tumbler. This activity show the Newton first law of motion. Thank you. Let's study about Newton's second law of motion. Newton's second law of motion states that the higher the mass of the object will be there, the higher the force it will take to accelerate the object. It also have a formula that is force is equal to mass into acceleration. To study it more better, we will perform an activity on basis of second law of motion. To perform the activity of Newton's second law of motion, we will be requiring an eraser, a paper ball, and an object which is having more mass than the paper ball. We will keep the eraser here and we will try to fall the eraser with the help of this ball. As you can see, the eraser falls down. Now we will try the same with the help of this paper ball. As you can see, the paper ball, we are trying to very much to fall the eraser, but the paper ball isn't capable to fall the eraser. This is because this has very less mass and this has very high mass than the eraser. So this activity states the Newton's second law of motion. We'll study about Newton's third law of motion. Newton's third law of motion describes that every action has an equal and opposite reaction. That is, F1 is equal to F2. To study this more better, we will perform an activity on the basis of Newton's third law of motion. In the activities of Newton's third law of motion, we will simply require a small ball. You can take the tennis balls, jumper ball, anything which is available at the home. We will simply throw the ball on the floor. As you can see, when we are throwing the ball on the ground, this is reaction, and when the ball is coming in the opposite direction, this is called reaction. This only states that the Newton's third law of motion. Thank you for watching my video.